Hello, everyone. Woohoo. I hope you're fine and that everything's been cool during this time that I haven't been on. Uh, we are going to be playing
Phase Clan now
Rune,
find themselves
the
trailing.
Kickstart version of the game that. Sorry, my dog barked. Mm, give me just 1 minute that I'll fix something around here. Uh, mm, well, we'll move on. For those of you that are here, I'm really happy to be back. I want to welcome you, everyone, and we'll be playing Rune, as I told you, the new game that will be kicking Kickstart really soon, made by Spencer Campbell, Gila's RPGs. For those of you that haven't heard about him, he's the responsible person of making some amazing games such as Slayers and Nova, and created a cool system called Lumen. So this is a solo RPG, and it's inspired by one of my favorite games in all the world, that it's Dark Souls and Elden Ring and all the Souls-like games. So uh something's acting weird in my computer. Give me 1 minute. Well, to start with, we're going to talk a bit about this game. In particular, you can download the quick start through itch.io's page by to play it yourself later. It's a really cool game. For I have played it already. It's it's a game that has like two parts. It's an exploring game for one side, and on the other hand, it's a combat game. Spencer normally do games that have some strategy included on them. uh, it's something that happens, and I think that he has made an amazing work on working both things. This is not a solo journaling game that it's normally what most of us imagine when we think about solo gaming. You know, I like to see this kind of games in the industry. Though maybe it's not a game that I would design, I like to know that they exist. It's like really interesting to see on how people work around having something more mechanical that has a strategy, and it's really really cool. I really liked how this game works around that. um I have always my little notes so I don't forget to mention anything. um to play this game, you're going to need some of the extra material that it's for printing, some grids and clocks, even though you can just draw them. There's a character sheet as well, and you will need d6 to play this game, many of them, hopefully. If you have a lot of stamina, you're going to need a lot of them. And then you need some tokens to mark the grid, or some writing implements to mark stuff. But the game, it's not a journaling game, even though, I mean, you can play it that way. It's interesting to do some journaling and take notes and everything, but the game is focused uh on things that it's a point crawler. So you go through a map, and each location is connected some way to others, and you can get certain stuff in that location, and certain fights. Yes. Mm, what I enjoyed a lot about this game, we're going to play in a bit, but the things that I really think that make a difference here, it's the clock usage. Every action that you take in a point, it makes you mark a part of a section of your clock that it has four, at least for the scenery that we are using today. That is the one that it's in the quick start, the Grim Coast, two islands that are really, really dark, as everything that you would expect from something that it's so light. And then uh, you have day and night things that you can do in each location. Whenever the clock completes, it changes, and it's really, really nice. Uh, and then you have certain actions that are fixed. You have a sigil place, that it's the bonfire for us who have played Dark Souls. It's a place of respite where you heal out, and where you are reborn when you die, because you die. And then you have in different actions there, in different places, that can be learned, that it's something that will make you know more about the world that you are inhabiting and trying to save somehow. And then you can delve, that this will give you access to materials for the future. Then you can fight, uh, fight or search as well. Sorry, search is the one that gives you the materials, and delve is getting equipment and things like that. For the moment, we don't know if there will be more kind of actions, or but we know that Random encounters while traveling are going to be included in the final version of the game, but then you can also have combat, as we told. It's a really nice dynamic, the one that it's established. You travel to a place, and if you get to sorry, if you get to that place and a fight is available, you'll have to fight first before doing anything else. You know, it's really interesting. I will So, what is this world? What is this place that Spencer has created for us? I'm going to read a little bit to know, for you to know. When the world of Obron, this is the name of the world, was shattered, those who sought power or saw their opportunity seized control of the now countless realms of the world. Realms are distinct regions of the world, each unique from the others, though they share common features as they are all of Obron. You know, so the realm would work as a mini world that you explore. It will have a map that is a point crawler, and today we are going to use the Grim Coast. That is the one that it's available in the quick start. Really interesting, you know. Normally, in the full game, we are going. You'll have many realms to choose. So, I'm really anxious to. Sorry, anxious is not the word in Spanish. You can use it, but in English, it doesn't mean the same. Like I really want to see. I'm really eager to see how that will work in the end. So, uh, we, the players, or the player, you are an engraved one. The engraved one is one of the few that can carve runes into your being. The runes are the things that you obtain by killing rune lords that are the bosses. I will make a lot of comparisons to Soul Likes games because it's something that I enjoy a lot. I'll try to keep them at minimum so anyone that hasn't played Dark Souls can enjoy this, but the rune lords are dangerous. Each realm, if my understanding of what is coming is correct, will have one, you know. Um, and obviously, in this game, you can die and start again whenever that happens. Any boss, any unique enemy that you have killed won't respawn, but the other guys, they will, because that's how this world works. So, well, that's that. The idea is to get more powerful each time, to gather more things or more knowledge around of the world you have around, and be something some way more powerful and able to uh, kill this guy and kill all the guys and break the cycle of your death, you know. To be honest, the game has a lot of explanations on that. I really enjoy this because it's really clear on how every tactical thing works, which I think is something that Spencer does really, really well. So, without further ado, we're going to create my engraved one and go around the Grim Coast, uh each to be honest, it's like a lot of work what Spencer has done, because you have phases for day, for night, and enemies, and each location has their particular situations and the items, and it's really really nice. And uh, I'm really eager to see how this works out. I'm getting my starter material. So the game, the structure of the playthrough bounces between exploration and combat, as I've told you before. Uh, this happens automatically when you bump into a fight. You know. Um, Here's the character sheet. Okay, this is the character sheet for the time being, and your character will have health, will have stamina, will have a modifier of lore, and then you have the possibility of having two weapons and an utility item. um the weapon, you actively use it when in combat, and the utility item activates if you roll the correct number. But we'll get to that later. So we're going to be going around the green coast. Icy winds blow against your graved mark skin. A heavy weight hangs in the air of the green coast. Atop a hill in the distance, a singular keep stands above a desolated land. Carving the sigil into the ground, you prepare yourself. The sigil is the place where we start. It's number one in the map. You can see it there. This map has 7 locations. One of those, it has the Rune Lord, and most of them have fights and delving and a lot of things. Mm, so we start at number 1. We have a clock also for this game, as I've told you. Uh, Whenever we start this particular scenario, starts on day. As I've told you before, the every time you move between points or you complete any action at a point, you mark a part of the clock that it has 4 segments, and it changes from day to night. So we for starting the starting character, we have to choose any 2 of the starter weapons found at the end of this PDF. I have them here. So we have at the moment 4 starter weapons. We have a longsword, a shield, a great axe, or an erupting flame. This reminds me a little bit of the pyromancer from Dark Souls, and the other are more related to knights or something more physical. Each weapon has a particular dice that needs to activate a different characteristic of it. For example, a longsword, to make one harm 1, you need a 2. To get a move action and a harm 2, you need between a 3 and a 5. We'll get further into this, but I will choose a longsword and a shield because I'm a chicken. And for my utility gear, we have some strider boots that it can give you +1 in the move, or a crown of red that it needs as an effect will deal +2 harm and take 1 harm this round. They activated uh, when different things that you do. They have criteria specified. Uh, so I think that I will pick the Crown of Red, which it needs that to have enemies in at least two adjacent spaces, and it would deal, if this happens, uh, +2 harm, and I would take +1 harm this round if the criteria happens. So I'm marking everything because I print everything so I could have it. I imagine for how the game is written that these will be cards, that you can put or cut to for you to use in a really accessible, more easy way, not just in the book. So my health, I start with 10 of health, 2 of stamina, and no lore. Lore is something that you can get the through the exploration by using a certain action. So whenever you die, you have a curse on you. That's something that happens on Dark Souls as well. So we'll start. We start at point 1 in the map. That's the sigil. A sigil carved into the very soul of this realm, connecting you with it. This is a place of rest, recovery, and rebirth. It's the same day and night. It has a particular action that is rest. You recover all your health and mark all fights in the realm. So any dead enemies will revive. There is no limit to the number of times you may rest. Travel from Seashell. A quiet village along the coast, eerily still, or an ominous forest looms to the north. I'm going to go. I see the message saying that I will die a lot. I'm sure that will happen. The time that I played it before, I died like 10 times. Uh, so I'm ready. Uh, a quiet. I'm going to go to the village to number 2. Mm, it's called Village of Tiresh. Clearly abandoned, though there are some signs of recent visitors. This place is quiet as a grave. I've traveled, so I will mark my clock, and it's day. So I have 2 actions that are available for me. One is search, and the second one is learn. Um, there is no limit to the amount of actions that you can do. So you can do all of them, or you can just do one and move to another location and come back and do the others. Especially this is important when you want certain stuff, or you need stuff that it will be available in other locations. Because certain actions are during day and certain actions are during night, and certain actions need specific items that you will get in the map. So it's for the search. If I search, I will find a healing vial. This will recover 2 of health at any time during exploration. I can't use it during fight, during combat. Or I can learn, which will increase my lore +1. And I think it's day and I have time to do both things. So I think that that's what I will do. Meaning that next time that the next place that I'll move, it will complete the clock and I will, uh, it will be night. So I will mark my search. And I'll mark in my character sheet that I have one healing vial for two only during exploration. It will heal me 2 hit points. Uh, and I will learn. So uh, the every time you choose learn, normally it increases lore, and it also has a small description, which is really really nice. This one says, "No remains to be found anywhere. The valuables of every home still in place, waiting for their owner's return. Drag marks lead to a locked cellar door." So I'll write my +1 in lore. I have done 2 actions here, so I marked my clock and I'll travel from here because the other 2 actions are only available for night, during night. The travel from village of Tiresh. That is this location. The safety of Sicil is down a path. I could go back in case I was like really hurt or something during a fight, if there was something here like that. Or I can go to an ominous forest looms to the east. That's location 3. A solitary structure on a nearby coast. That's 4. And the keep of this realm atop of a hill. That's 5. I think that this is the place where we can find the Rune Lord because it's the keep. So I won't go there now. I think that I'll travel to. Uh, I'll travel to the Ghouls, to the number 3 location. You know, I have many papers. So, okay, the location is called Gnarl Tree. Among a grove of vibrant life, a lone tree sits, twisted, writhing, alive and dead. I have arrived here during night because my last part of the clock was marked because I travel, you know? So the only thing that I can do during night here is delve. I have to sacrifice 2 health to the gnarl tree. So I'll do it. I'm evading fighting as a champion. Okay, so my health is now 8. The tree's root drink the spilled blood, a content sigh resonating from the trunk. A voice rings out. The boatman requires the stars to navigate the seas. What would this mean? But the effect is that I increase my lore by 1, so I'm in +2. Uh, and my maximum health is reduced by 2 for all the time that I am in this realm, the Grim Coast. So 8 is my maximum health now. Okay. It's it. I want to fight something, you know. uh, so from here, I can go back to the sigil, or go again to the village that we were before, that if I remember correctly, I can fight there because it's night. So there we go. We go back to the village of Tiresh. So I mark again my clock, and it's night. Automatically, when there's a fight available, you can't do anything else. So uh, you have to fight to be able to do anything else. Okay, the terrain is basic, so it doesn't has for what I read in the manual, in the rules, you will be able to have difficult terrain with different obstacles and things. Luckily, it's not the case of this map at the moment. I'm trying to find my grid, because I know I have it printed. So it says here that there is a goal. This is a grid. You can see it has like a naval. I'm not sure how to call it in English, but in Spanish it's naval battleship or something like that. So we have 3 enemies, one ghoul that it's in V3. Then we have 2 skeletons that it, okay. Um 2 skeletons in A1 and A2, and I am in C3. This is a little bit abstract just to say it, but this is the map. I am here, the goal is here, and we have 2 skeletons. Uh, I'm a little bit frightened. My health is low. Each enemy has its own card, you know. Uh, it's they look like this. So to begin combat, you will roll some that 1d6 per each enemy. So you get like that. What is the action and the harm and everything that they will do? Uh, I have my combat notes here because it's I'm not used to play combat games, so I need some help. Uh, but first, we'll roll a dice for the goal. He, it's a 1, so he'll be moving 1 and harm 1. And then for the 2 skeletons, a 5, move 1, harm 2. I'm going to die. And the other skeleton, it's 2, so that's move 1 and harm 1. Then the enemies will do move actions and non-harm actions. If they have something that it's not something that would harm me, they will do it at this stage. So let's check the goal. The goal has 4 health. It's an undead if that comes relevant, and it has a range of same and adjacent. That means that it has to be orthogonally next to me to harm me. That it's the place that it's right now. So enemies can be at the same square with you, but not there can be more than 2 uh, persons, individuals in the same space. So I think that he would move to the same place that I am, so he would be in C3 as well. And let's check the skeletons. The first skeleton that took a 5, he can move 1 and will So they would move to B1, I assume, to get nearer to me. You can move them as you want. There's not a specific, uh, not as an a specific. It's not like chess that they have. That they have a specific movement, but you can move them as you please. Uh, if I understood correctly. And the other skeleton will also move one, so I'll move him to A3. So I am in the same space as the ghoul, and the skeletons are moving nearer, but they have also range same as an adjacent, so they won't be able to harm me in any way this time around, I think. And now it's my turn. What do you do when it's your turn? You will roll a pool of d6s equal to your stamina. My stamina is 2. So I will roll 2d6s. I took a 4 and a 3. And I will allocate these dice in the same in my equipment. So I'm trying to find my equipment. Sorry. Okay, here it is. I have the long sword and uh okay, with the longsword I can't harm the ghoul and I can't harm the skeletons, but I mean I can choose what I will use and I can move later, so I can accommodate myself to be adjacent and not in the same place as the ghoul, so I will be able to harm him. But to move, I need to allocate a 3, 4, or 5, or a 6 to the longsword. And I got a 4 and a 3. Uh, I say that I will put a 4 on my longsword, so I'll be able to move 1 and harm 2. And I have a 3 that I will allocate in my shield, on my shield, to block 2, to reject harm, you know. So the enemies decide their actions, then they move when if they were able, and in my turn I roll my dice and I allocate the dice in my specific weapons. And now if the four part of the combat process is move if possible, so I will move to I will move to V3. I will have I will be next to one of the skeletons and next to the ghoul, but I don't think that running away from the skeletons will help me, because then I have to move there to kill them to finish the fight. So I will move to V3 and I'll be adjacent, so I'll be able to use my longsword. Whew. Okay, and now we determine harm. Hopefully, I'm doing this correctly, but the ghoul is doing 1 harm. But I have my my shield that blocks 2, so I will not receive I will not receive harm from this. Uh, and then I will. The skeleton number one is far away. The skeleton number two is next to me, and he will do one harm as well. But I have blocked two, so I won't receive that harm. Woo. Ah, and it's my turn to do harm, and I have to do two harm because I had a four in my longsword, and all of the enemies have four of health, so I won't be able to kill any. Uh, but the ghoul has a capacity of healing, so I think that I should concentrate on killing him. You know, and I will do that. So his health will go down two, and this combat. This is the whole combat cycle, and we'll start again. So we roll for the enemies. The ghoul, one dice. This is a one, and so it's again move one and harm one. The skeleton number one, that is the one that is far away, it took a four. That is one move one and harm one. And the other skeleton took a four as well, so both skeletons do the same thing. And now they move. I'm in B3. I think that the ghoul will again move to B3. So, and so, and the other skeleton can't move near. I'm not sure if they can choose not to move. Maybe Spencer is online and he can answer me this. But okay. Because the enemies can be in, you can have two people, two individuals, no people, in the same space. Okay, they have to move, so they would move to A4. This is skeleton number two, and then skeleton number one will move to B2. So at these positions, skeleton number one and the ghoul can attack me. Skeleton number two, no, because it's in diagonal. Uh, and I'm checking if they have any other thing. No. Okay. So now is my time. My time. Um, I will roll 2d6 because I have two stamina. I got a 5 and a 6. So I will put my 6 in my long sword. So I will be able to move one and do 3 harm. And I took a 5, and that will go to my shield, which is a move one and block two. Uh, so enemies have done the moves. I have moved. No, I haven't moved yet, but I have allocated my dice. Now I have to move if possible, which is something that I can do. Uh, I don't want to move. Uh, it's no, it's hard. So I would move to. I have two moves. Ah, cool. Okay, I will move one to move to A3. A3, so I will be able to hit the ghoul or the skeleton number two. And I will We'll start determining harm. Skeleton number one can't do anything because he's in diagonal. Skeleton, the ghoul will do one harm, but I have block two, so he won't be able to harm me. And the shield is like really cool at this moment of the story. Maybe later it gets like really ridiculous, but it's working really well. And skeleton number two, it also makes one harm, but I have block two, so no one hurts me. I'm immortal. Ah, but I have three harm to do, so I will kill the ghoul. Even though I'm wasting one damage, but I think that having an enemy down, it's good. So no more ghoul, especially one that can heal if certain numbers show in the dice. Uh, okay, and the skeleton number. I'm thinking. So sorry. I will roll for the skeletons. This is number three. For the skeleton number one, again move one and harm one. And for the other one, a six. Move two, harm two. Okay. Okay. Then my they have to move. If sorry if you listen my dog barking. um and then this is not here. Here. Then skeleton number one has to move one, so he'll move to A2. So it's next to me. And skeleton number two can move two, so he'll move to B3. Both of them are next to me. I could hurt both. Now I will throw my stamina pool. That's a six and a two. Uh, I will put the shield won't work because two is not enough, and I will put my six in the longsword. Yeah, okay. Then I move. If possible, I can move one, but I don't think that I will do that because I'm in range to attack both of the enemies. So we determine harm once again. So now I will receive damage. I will get one harm from skeleton number one, and two from skeleton number two. So that will be, I mean, five of health. And I have a three harm, and I will harm skeleton number one. He had it coming. So he's in one of health. We start once again. We roll for their actions. I took a two and a five. So skeleton number one will have move one and harm one, and skeleton number two will have move one and harm two. They'll both have to move. I think that skeleton number two will move skeleton number one will move to a3, so he'll be in the same place I am. And skeleton number two will move just to b2. Maybe I don't die this time. Okay. And now I roll my pool of dice. I got a 4 and a 6. So I will block 2 with the 6 in the shield and harm one, move 1 and harm 2 with the longsword. I thought that since I rather kill the one that is already already in the it dying almost, I don't need to do 3 harm, uh, because I want to kill the one that it's almost dying, so it's the same. But I rather block 2 and maybe move. So I need to move because I'm in the same space as as one of the skeletons, and the other one is in diagonal. So I would go to a2. I'm here, and we determine harm. That will be the one of the skeletons will do harm 2, but I have block 2 with the shield, so nothing happens. And the other one has harm 1, and I have a shield, nothing happens. And now it's time for me to harm a skeleton number 1. I have two harm, but he needs just 1 to die, so he's dead. And now we are just me and skeleton number 2. I took a 2 for his actions. His action set would be so move 1 and harm 1. And now he will move to a2 to be at the same place that I am. And now I roll my 2 dice. I took a 3 and a 5. A 3. I put 3 on the longsword and a 5 in the shield. Uh, Normally, if you take like really low numbers, you can put them both of them in the same space. If you are interested in doing that, um, I mean, like you can put both dice in the longsword or things like that, if I remember correctly. Um, so, mm, okay, I have to move if possible. If I want to, I don't want to move. Oh yeah, I want to move because we are in the same place. So here I go to B2. I'll show you later this map. It's crazy. I I don't know how I understand it. And okay, so we determine harm. The skeleton will do 1 harm, but I have block 2, so nothing will happen. And I have harm 2, so he'll go to less. eh, He'll be in 2 of health. Again, action set for the skeleton, that's a 4, so he'll move 1 and harm 1, and he'll move to the same place that I am. We come and go, we are dancing. And then I roll my stamina pool dice. I I got a 1 and a 3. So I will put both of them if I'll put both of them in my longsword. So I'll have a 4. So I can do 2 harm, no blocking. Uh so I can be able to kill him now. So I will move. Yeah, I can move with that action and go to 8-2. And with determine harm, I will get one less of health because the skeleton will harm me one, and then I'll harm him two, and he'll die. You die to the skeleton, you know. Okay. Um, and now we'll. I finished the combat section for this moment, and I remember, if I find my pages, that I'm able to delve in Village of Tiresh now, because I have finished the combat. This is the last thing that I'll do. Go. Ah, and oh no, to delve I need the Necromancer's key. I don't have that, so I'll mark my fighting and I'll move along. uh I think that moving to the boss fight will take this like a long time, but I think that you have been able to see more or less how the game works. It's really really interesting and it's really really fun. I'll show you this because this is my fighting. It's really funny, all the marks. uh I thought that I would be able to understand this with not a pencil and eraser. I should have used tokens, but it's really fun. I love this game. It's really really interesting, and I think that it catches pretty well the Dark Souls experience. But well, um we're going to do a small break so Spencer can jump in and we'll talk with him a little bit about this game that it's going to come to Kickstarter, if I recall correctly, on the 16th of August, like in 2 days. Uh, so I will be back in a while, in 5 minutes or less. Keep up with us. Thanks for listening. Well, welcome back, everyone, and welcome to Spencer, who has decided to trust in me to play this game in public and to join us to talk a bit about this game and everything he does. So, welcome, Spencer.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, huge trust in you. You did a great job. You didn't die. I mean, that's great.
I wish Dark Souls was this easy.
Right, right.
Oh god, I'm so bad at playing Dark Souls, but I love them and I die so many
Hmm.
times. So I think that this game was made for me a bit.
Ah,
You know?
see,
Uh,
everybody, this might be somebody's entryway into the Souls genre without even picking up a controller.
yeah, I think that is amazing. I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I talk about you a little bit before. What were your games? But if there anything that you want to mention that I might have forgotten, where are you from, or anything that you want to share with us, that would be awesome. Uh,
Sure. So, my name is Spencer Campbell. I publish under the name Gila RPGs. I'm an indie RPG designer in the Chicago area. My day job is I'm a professor of psychology, cognitive psychology. So I love to talk about psych and games too. So anybody out there is a psychology nerd or wants to talk about that stuff, let me know. I'm happy to talk about that. But
cool.
otherwise, in terms of game design, I think you mentioned most of the things that I do: Slayers, Lumen, Nova. Light, and yeah, and now Rune.
Yeah. But this is not your first solo game. If I recall correctly, you have something that not as complex as this,
Yeah.
but you made something that was called Time to Kill or something
Mm,
like that, about
yeah.
being a spy waiting to do killing time or something like that.
Yeah, I made Time to Kill. You are a hired killer waiting in a hotel lobby for your target to kill, for your target to arrive. So you're killing time before it's killing time.
Yeah.
I wrote that whole premise while I was waiting in a hotel lobby for my fiance at the time. She is a singer, and so we were waiting before her concert, and I was like, well, what can I
What
write
can I do?
about? And
What can
that
I do?
all
Cool.
came together.
Oh, so cool. So, we'll talk a little bit about solo gaming and then we'll go deeper into Rune World. If you had to recommend one solo game, which one would be? Like, if do you have a
Mm.
favorite one? Do you play a lot of solo games or some? Uh, or if someone wants to start playing solo games, what would you recommend?
So my intro to solo games was The Wretched by Chris Bizet, which I think might have been an intro for a lot of people just because The
Yeah.
Wretched it exploded in popularity. It was fantastic. I had an incredible time with that. But the one that I want to shout out or recommend is Artifact
Oh,
by
yeah.
Jack Harrison. I think Artifact is fantastic. Not only is it just like playing the game and creating this interesting legendary item on its own is very cool, but then you have the aspects of like a side that will kind of help that you can play alongside, and then at the end of the day, you have like Artifact is the perfect name for it because you have an artifact. You have something that you
Yeah.
can carry with you to another game. And I think that's cool when you have those things that you can carry with you from one experience to the other. So Artifact gets a huge shout out for me.
Well, that yeah, it's an amazing game. I really like it a lot. The first game that I designed that it was solo, it was for a jam for Lost and Found.
Mm.
And I really I love that kind of games. So if you had to give some advice to solo players and to solo designers,
Mm.
solo game players and designers, what would it be if you have anything in mind?
For me with solo, like when I play solo game, because I traditionally, you mentioned this while you were playing, like this isn't Rune isn't one of the like solo journaling games, and I think
Hmm.
very often folks who play solo games are playing those solo journaling games where you get cool prompts from cards or things like that. Um, is to like for me, the thing that just got me that kind of made it click for me when I was playing it is to just not overthink it. I think there's like a desire to try and create like a cohesive story throughout all of your responses in the journal and to like try to track things. And for me, I just kind of wrote on it every time prompts came together, and I just like if something kind of came together like a plot wise, then that's cool. But if it didn't, then that's interesting when you have sort of this dissidence going on in this journal that you're creating where why did it turn out the way that there's an interesting story in those broken threads. And so my advice for solo playing is to just like truly word vomit on the page and like
Yeah.
and I know that's not for everybody, but I didn't think at every time a prompt, like I didn't sit there and go, okay, so how do I feel about this? I just started writing, and that was a really enjoyable way for me to play it.
Cool.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, for solo designers, I mean that's tricky for me to answer only because this is my second solo game that I've made, and it's very different than a lot of solo games. So um,
I think that that's why it would be cool to get some thoughts about it, because I struggle a lot sometimes when I say I want to do a game about certain subject or something, and I say, but I don't see this happening as you take notes of everything that's going around, and I don't have the tools to, I mean, because I'm not a, I don't play things like Iron Song, for example, normally. And it's nice to hear what people that design that kind of games do, like I think that it's interesting.
My advice is to play and mine board games as a solo designer, because games. So if you want, especially if you want to try and do a solo game that goes outside the realm of the solo journaling approach with prompts and stuff, like if you really want to try and create something that's maybe simulating a certain type of experience, games are, they're designed to be perfect box experiences, that they don't require you to have to necessarily think outside of what the context of the game works. And those restraints are actually extremely helpful for me when I was thinking about creating Rune. So having to come up with an enemy that made sense, rather than just saying, go for it and just move the enemies the way that you want. Coming up with an AI system that was inspired by looking at other games like Gloomhaven, for example, was really helpful in terms of understanding how my enemies would work in Rune. So I think board games, given they work in constraints, I think constraints are really helpful for a solo design. You don't have to count on. You don't have like a GM or other players who are there to add into the scene. So I'm one of those weird people that thinks constraints are really powerful. So look to board games for boxes and constraints and use those.
Gloomhaven is an amazing game.
It's
I
so
really
much
like
fun.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
well, after you spend an hour and a half setting it up, it better be fun.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, so I don't play much because I need to be like in a really, I love board games. But I have to be in such specific mood to play it. But some of my friends play it through tabletop simulator, like online,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so much easier to set up.
Yeah.
And at least it's not like you are going to the gym also, because it's so heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's gigantic.
it's so
It like hurt
heavy.
my back picking it up. It's like, oh, I'm getting old.
Okay, well, thanks for that. I think that watching, I mean, what like taking into account board games, it's like really important sometimes for game designers. And I'm also a big fan of board games, but it's like I
I can
really,
see by your collection behind you.
yeah. Yes. Okay. And tell us a little bit about your creative process. Like, well, you told us like time to kill, you write it on a lobby of the hotel. But is there something that when you want to design game, when you get the idea, how do you work around it?
Mm.
Like, um, what things do you like? You have a list of things that you always do when you want to design game, or how do you work around that?
Yeah, I have a few sort of set standard ways that I when I'm designing things. So I do a lot of design streams, which are really helpful to me. So like I will be on Twitch and I will just design, I'll just talk about a thing that I'm designing for about an hour. And I find that just talking out loud about my process or what I'm thinking helps a ton. It's very similar to advice that I give my students when they write papers and then I tell them to edit their papers. I tell them to read their paper out loud, because when you read your ideas out loud, you literally process them more slowly than if you were to read them quietly to yourself. And in doing so, you have more time to kind of chew on the ideas. And so just speaking my ideas out loud, even if nobody's watching me, helps me so much, because I talk my way through whatever it is that I'm thinking. So that's a part of my process.
Nice.
I love to get out and write. It's very, very hard for me to write in my house, because I'm just distracted. There are so many things in the house that I would rather
You
be
have to go
doing.
out and without Clover.
Yeah, right,
Because no.
exactly. Because then she wants all my attention, right? Like she's here and I want to hang out with her. There's video games here, and boy, do I love video games. There's a million other things here in the house. So getting out is a really big thing for me. I mean, this again goes back to like my grad school experience. Me writing in cafes is how I get things done, is just going to a cafe or going to a park or something and just sitting down and doing that. Again, I don't do writing for long periods of time. My max writing is about an hour, which is why my streams are about an hour.
Cool.
It's very rare for me to sit down and do 2, 3, 4 hours straight of design work. I can't do that. So I work for an hour somewhere and then I shut down, and then I'm good with whatever it is that I've accomplished. And then I have music. I have very specific music that I listen to, and that goes outside the streams. When I'm in writing mode, I have a very specific set of music that I listen to, because again, it's about an hour long, and and then when it's done, I know, all right, I probably worked.
Can I ask what music is in that set list?
Yeah, so it's all electronic music.
Okay.
The main highlight is there's a lot of Daft Punk,
Okay.
specifically their Homework album, which is their
Nice.
first one, and
Yeah, yeah.
because it's that sort of house music that just it keeps a consistent beat. It just keeps me moving consistently too. So
Yeah.
music that just is like, and then I just kind of write at that pace, and it helps me a ton.
Oh, nice. Cool. Right. It's really interesting. Yeah, people has so many different things that they do, but
Oh,
I
right.
agree with the going out. It works a lot for me as well. Uh, it's something that I can't work at home. I have three dogs, a cat, and video games, and I just have to go out. I agree with that one. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about Rune.
Mm.
Uh, if I recall correctly, you have played your first Souls like in like some months ago. Yeah, I remember something that during the pandemic you started playing Elden Ring or something like that. I'm not
So
sure if you played before. How did you catch interest in the Souls like games?
yeah, I bounce off Souls games real hard. When I first tried them, when I was introduced to Dark Souls, I did not enjoy it at all. It wasn't for me, like, and it wasn't even necessarily the punishing difficulty, because like I understand that like Souls games, it's about learning, and that's cool to
Yeah,
me. But
yeah, yeah,
for me, it's a pacing thing. Dark Souls is too slow for me. It's block, roll, one hit, and then you like block, roll, and like I can't do that speed. But when Bloodborne came out, that's when I
oh
went, ah, I get this now. Because Bloodborne is way, way, way more aggressive. You're
yeah,
rewarded for playing aggressively. You get health back by going in and
yeah.
fighting people.
I
So
will kill this because I'll heal. It's like, yeah, it's like that.
yeah. And so it's way more aggressive, and that's just more in line with how I mean, anybody who knows me knows I'm the guy that plays power fantasy games. So I like being on the move and doing things. And so Bloodborne was much more my speed. And
Nice.
I'm obsessed with Bloodborne. I think it's like a perfect game. I think it's incredible.
It's
Um
it's the only one that I haven't played. But I have seen my partner playing it like three
oh,
times. It's Clover there.
Clover's furious about the fact that you haven't played Bloodborne. She's
Sorry,
not
Clover.
having it.
When we end here, I'm going to start playing Bloodborne. Uh,
It's
yeah,
you're gonna like it. You're gonna like
yeah.
it.
I think that my problem with Bloodborne, it's more like it's too bloody, you know. It's like too
Yeah.
gory, and that's my thing with it. But I
Yeah.
know that it's like uh, a more dynamic game, and the world is smaller as well. Well, Elden Ring is huge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how big Elden Ring
I can't believe
is.
Elden Ring. Yeah, well, okay. So Bloodborne did it for you. I'm glad that you got there at least.
Yeah, exactly. So like maybe I haven't tried going back to Dark Souls or Demon Souls or anything like that. So maybe I should go back because now, I've played an unreasonable amount of Elden Ring at this point. So, I know that I enjoy the genre, and Elden Ring isn't nearly as fast as Bloodborne. It can be depending on what weapons you bring. So like
Yeah,
maybe I can go back and give the Dark Souls experience. But I'm so obsessed with Bloodborne, it's very hard for me to imagine going to something else.
yeah, yeah. It's. I think that that happens. Yeah, here at home, we didn't get to play Bloodborne because it was exclusive for PlayStation,
Yeah.
and we got our PlayStation last year. Last year, yeah, uh, and during the pandemic, because it's when are you going to buy a PlayStation
Right.
if it's not during the pandemic? And uh, that there's when we were able to play Bloodborne, and I didn't like it, but my partner enjoyed it a lot, and she played it like a lot of times, and I know everything about Bloodborne. Uh, I'm a backseat player.
Yeah, you've absorbed the experience. That still
Yeah.
counts. That's good.
Well, if you we are going to talk I want to talk a little bit about the what's a souls like vibe,
Mm,
because even though you say that you are a huge fan of Bloodborne, this game feels much more like a Dark Souls setting to me, for what I read.
mm,
Like it's more medieval. Maybe
yeah.
you will add items that are more related to Bloodborne later. But in the quick start, it feels much more like a Dark Souls. So if you had to define the souls like vibe some way, how would you do it? And what do you think that what mechanic and design that you've made for Rune makes you think that it gives this vibe to your game? It has it, though. I mean, I'm not discussing that. I just want to know what you thought that would represent that in your game.
Mm, yeah. So Souls-like games are, I mean, there's kind of like two big pillars to me. One is they take place in a like desolate, horrible place usually there is a story going on in there, but you are not overtly told it. And so you have to do environmental storytelling in order to figure out what you think is going on. So exploration of a like cursed, dead, horrible, desolate place and picking up the story along the way is one of the big things. Loneliness. I think I consider them lonely. They're lonely games, and that's very intentional. I think they do a good job of evoking that.
Yeah,
The second thing is then the combat, which many people would say is unfair, but it's just hard, and it's intentionally hard because it's about learning. It is about once you learn the move set of an enemy, in theory, you should be able to beat them. There's situation, a little bit of variability in that, but it is about
yeah,
learning what enemies do and then finding the way to overcome them based off of what you've learned. And that's hard. And so that's why combat feels so hard, is because you got to learn usually through pain and death. The best way to learn what an enemy can do is have it kill you a whole bunch.
yeah,
Um, so I tried to capture those concepts in Rune. The environmental storytelling, the lonely world thing, comes from the fact that because it is a solo game, there aren't going to be a lot of NPCs for you to interact with, right? So a lot of it is going to create that.
are there going to be NPCs?
I think I'm going to try and do some play with some NPCs, but it won't be a big robust thing where you have long conversations and things like that with them, because again, it's a solo game, and
Yeah.
I want you to feel like you are largely alone while you're out there, besides these kind of ravenous hordes of enemies out there that don't want you around. Um, so the thing that I try to capture with the loneliness, or the thing that I really I'm proud of with Rune, is the lore stat, because the lore stat represents environmental storytelling to me. So you learn the story of, let's say, a region in Elden Ring by literally exploring all over, looking for hidden places, going into every ruin that you can find, looking everywhere, and oftentimes it gives you flavor text, it gives you story about enemies, and it also oftentimes gives you advantages in upcoming fights because you learn something valuable about like a boss or an enemy, or like a weakness that they have. And so the lore stat in Rune is designed to create that sensation of you're starting to put together what's going on here, and the game rewards you. So like in the Grim Coast, for example, the realm you were playing, one of the
Yeah.
rewards that lore can eventually give you is that it allows you to bypass a lot of fights that precede the boss. That if you've explored enough, you can skip a lot of the enemies and get straight to the boss. In other situations, lore will do things like provide you like secret paths through areas that you found because you literally know about the world more, so that you know the connections to places. So
Nice.
I'm really happy with that. I think it does a good job of kind of capturing that environmental storytelling thing. Um, the other
Yeah.
thing is then the combat, and the thing that I think is good about the combat is that you know exactly what the enemy is going to do.
Yes. Then you have a little bit of lack or thing when you roll your dice, but I think that you worked really well around this. I feel the game is like really interesting. When I first read the game, I mean, until you don't play it, you don't get the complete sensation.
Mm,
But once you do it, I think that the exploration, the descriptions, and the places and everything, and when you get to the combat, it's like, okay, yeah, I have to kill these guys, and I have to do this. But then you go back to the other, like the switch. It's like really well done. I like the game a lot.
oh, thank you so
I have
much.
to say that. I think that I mean, I think this game has the Souls like vibe,
Oh,
and I feel like the loneliness and all these things that you mentioned. I like the detail of the day night thing as well, because it's something that was like added in Elden Ring. That
mm,
there are certain enemies or things that appear during night, and you can't find them during day, but you have to kill them to get the key of this tower or
right.
whatever. And I like that as well a lot. uh I think that it's an amazing game. I like it a lot.
Thank you so
i'm really i'm really
much.
i'm really excited to see what the Kickstarter will bring.
Mm,
So let's talk a little bit about that. um eh, if I remember correctly,
mm.
the Kickstarter will launch in on the 16th.
Yeah, 2 days.
2 days. How are you feeling about that?
I feel good. I'm really happy because I'm the campaign is 1 week only, and I'm really happy with that decision. I've done in the past like the 30-day Kickstarters, the 3-week Kickstarters, and that's painful. As a creator, it's so painful to run the campaign because you have to be on all the time. You just need to be constantly promoting, and promotion for 30 days straight is really hard. And inevitably, in any Kickstarter campaign, the middle, there's not a lot of growth going on. You just kind of get a plateau. And it's just like the first 2 days and the last 2 days are great. The middle days, whoo, that's
But you
tough.
have to work anyway as if it would work. You know, you have to talk about the game all the time and tweet and tweet and tweet and
And you
share
got
art, and it must be exhausting.
it's so much. And I just know from my own like mental health that a week is great. And I'm inspired by Travis Hill, who does a lot of like sprint Kickstarters, like
Yeah.
like 5-day campaigns for zines that he's working on. And it's just like, listen, this is how much you need to print the thing to cover the costs, and let's just get it done in a couple days and make the thing. And I'm heavily inspired by that idea. And so I know that a week is going to be very manageable for me, right? That I can excitedly shout about the game for a week straight without my mind melting out of my ears. So yeah, it is in, and I'm really excited about it.
So it will be a campaign just to get the printing done. I mean, finishing the game, some art. I'm not sure, and maybe just a game. You won't have stretch goals or anything. I imagine that it will be like simple in that aspect.
Yeah, I really just want to fund funds to do the print run for the book, and to cover the costs of the art that's been commissioned already. More art would be is my goal, and then and then factoring and paying myself, which is a thing
Yeah,
that in previous Kickstarters I didn't do. I factored no money in for myself and forgot about that.
it's something that designers do often,
Hmm.
not getting paid for their own creations. So I'm glad that you factor that in. It's really, eh,
Yeah,
I
this
like.
I've learned from my from my mistakes in the past. So yeah, I do truly plan on just kind of running a very straightforward uh Kickstarter. And again, you mentioned stretch goals. That's another reason why having it be a week, because if you do have that like 30-day long campaign, you start getting tempted to add stretch goals because you're like, I got to do something. I got to do something to incentivize people to keep coming back to my page. And now I don't have to worry about that because I just need your attention for 1 week and then I'm out.
I think that it's nice. Nice. I mean, like it's useful. All the
Mm.
experiences that from people that I know are like, I can't believe I have to do this for a month. It's like no one is like happy for doing it.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And well, Alfred Valley, they done for 15 days for one of their games,
Mm.
and Sam Lee
Mm.
also, and both of them have told me that they are happy with that decision to make it
Yeah.
shorter. Uh, and I know, I've never heard of anyone that was happy for holding a month at the Kickstarter.
They're lying if they say that they had fun. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
So, if you can share like a brief sneak peek of the realms that you will be designing for the game, or that you have already designed. I'm not sure in what
Mm.
stage the game is of design. Uh, what would you say that make those realms unique,
Mm.
and how many are there going to be? Are you going to like to relate all the story together?
Mm.
There will be like a huge a boss of bosses or something like
Mm.
that. What do you have planned that you can share with us?
Sure. So the realms are unique from one another, which is through a couple of different things. So you mentioned like the day-night cycle and that's how the realm clock work in the Grim Coast works. But the clock is a different experience in every realm. They're not always going to be four segment cycling through something. Sometimes realm clocks are really huge and then they only go off once, but it's a huge meaningful thing, like an entire location gets wiped off the map or something like that. Or there's one realm that I'm working on that is sort of a frozen tundra
Nice.
place. That one will be cyclical, and rather than being night and day, it'll be paths between locations being thawed that you can travel between them, or frozen, and then you are blocked from being able to travel to places. So each realm gets a unique experience just from the realm clock on its own. But this is something that I'll talk a lot about when I release the creator kit for the game as well, is that you are encouraged to create either new rules or changes to previous rules that are part of the core game that fit your realm. So, you also mentioned the idea of random encounters as being something that comes up, right?
Yeah,
Not every
I saw it in the rules. You mentioned like this would be something that could happen in the
right.
future.
And it is absolutely in at least one of the realms that I'm going to be releasing with the game, but it's not going to be in all of them. So that I want the realms to feel like this is the experience that you're having here. This one is a race against the clock. This is one that is going to just keep beating you up, and you really got to like plan out your travel really importantly. This is one, and just kind of each changing it based off of tweaks to the rules and changing the way that the clock works. And that's how each realm will start to feel different from one another. Besides the story and the enemies and the items that are going to be in there, I want you to feel like you are truly in a different place, right? And that's very similar to, again, in Souls-like games, when you different regions of the
Yeah,
world and they ask something new of you, right? You are now in one of Miyazaki's many poisonous swamps, and you're like, I need to have the ability to not be poisoned anymore. But poison isn't in every place; it's just in some places, and that's a similar vibe that I'm going for here with realms.
nice.
Um, right now, there's the Grim Coast, and then there are 6 other realms that are going to be included with the Kickstarter. So, and I have like the ideas of most of them written down. Started work on the maps for some of them as well. And like I said, they're all going to be pretty different from one another. In
Nice.
terms of, are they all going to be connected, or if there's going to be a boss of bosses, there will be hints to how it is all part of the world of Obron, and like why there is like why these are shattered segments of a whole world. There isn't going to be a boss of boss, at least here in this first thing, because I plan on writing a lot more realms for like a long time. And so I want myself to be able to, but also other people to be able to write realms for Rune without feeling like they need to tie it into some sort of like story that I've created or some sort of like set lore world that it must abide by. There are already, I think, like 9 or 10 fan-made realms that exist, and the game isn't even out yet.
Wow.
So, which is a really cool feeling. And then the cool thing is, each of them is a very, very different genre and vibe. And I don't want to, in creating the game, say, well, it has to have this and this in order for it to fit my world that Rune is in. Instead, I
I
want it to feel very open in that way. Just like people writing districts for Slayers, they don't really have to worry too much about if their district feels really funky and weird and different. That's cool. That's celebrated in Slayers. So similar vibe here with Rune.
yeah. Cool. Uh it's I'm not sure. Um I'm not sure if you hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. I thought something went wrong with my internet for a
Oh,
bit. Um cool. I like the idea of, well, most of your games are games that people do a lot of
hmm.
stuff for them. It's like you always make the creator kits and everything, and I think that it's really nice that people are being, that you give the tools for people to create things of their own, that they could work totally
Hmm.
fine with the things that you've created. I like it. um
It's cool. I mean, I say this all the time, that I genuinely think that people will always come up with things that are cooler than I can for my games, and that's why I create these things, because I know there's so many people out there with really awesome ideas, and if I can give them some sort of template, some sort of guide to put that idea on the page more easily than if they didn't have it, then that's great. Then then they get to make something, and that's a fun thing for them.
That's really, really, really interesting. But because I think that there's no other designer that like I'm not sure how many things are done for Nova or things
Mm.
like that, but I don't think that there's another designer that has so many things made by fans, except, well, the big games. I mean, like
Yeah.
the non-indie games. But it's like really interesting how uh, the other designers show up for that. I mean, like it's really interesting the work you do with that, and I think that it's really, really, really valuable in the community as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I that's my goal is, I got my start in design through hacking and making things for other games. And so if there are people out there who aren't sure how to get started in design, and then I can give them some sort of toolkit that they can use to make at least their first thing, and that gets them started, then that's great. That started, and it'd be cool if that helps inspire other people.
Yeah, it's really nice. But most of us hack things. I mean, it's like most of us have done certain
Mm-hmm.
hacks. Well, lasers and feelings,
Mm-hmm.
wretched and alone, and but it's I well, maybe wretched and alone has a lot of hacks, but on lasers
Yeah.
and feelings too. But it's really, really interesting. I think that it's really, really nice, and I can't wait to do my own realm for Rune. I'm
Good.
really
I can't
I,
wait to see it. I can't wait for you to make something that will kill me.
uh,
That's what I want. Like, I want people to make realms so that I can feel the punishment too, that I can be killed again and again.
I think that it's really nice as well how that works around, at least in this realm. That I mean, like it's the essence of Dark Souls, that you can be restart the
Mm,
game, and that is something that we don't usually see,
mm,
like except some of the non-indie games that you are revive or something like that, or things like that, resurrect, or but
mm.
normally in solo gaming, when you die, is like,
That's
well,
it.
this is the end of the game.
Yeah.
What are you going? Well, you have to play again if you want to. uh and how, I just asking because now I'm thinking about this,
Mm,
how are you, like, do you have something thought for traveling from one realm to the other that
mm.
can happen anytime, or
So the way I'm going to write it is that the assumption is that once you get into a realm, you stay in that realm until you've defeated the Rune Lord. So rather than like hopping between realms, because that can get difficult to track, like the different
yeah,
clocks across a bunch of different realms. And so I want you to try and stay in a place until you're done with it. Again, I'm not your dad, so if you don't if you leave and you go somewhere else, I can't stop you.
keep track
Uh,
of your clocks, like,
Right. Yeah. Then it's your job to keep track of all the clocks. But there is between taking things to realms, the things that you'll be able to take with you is you'll find weapons and gear and things like that in realms, and that's going to be added to your collection, so that when you go to a new realm, you might suddenly find that a piece of gear that you found in the previous one is really helpful now in terms of fighting a particular enemy that maybe it would have been more difficult if you had gone to that realm in a different order. Or similarly, a major like advancement in the game doesn't come through levels and more XP and new health and things like that. It all comes from the gear that you have, boons that you take from Rune Lord. So that's your like boon that you get from killing them. And for those of people, like for folks who have played Elden Ring, it's like your talismans, right? It's your
yeah,
passive bonuses that you get, or like your powerful one use items sort of things. And so that's what helps kind of create your build. And some of them will be really straightforward. Like, this is just a rune that increases your max health. And sometimes you might go, yeah, actually, I'd like to die less. And you just take that rune. Others might be more specific and very helpful in some realms, and then maybe not as helpful in other, or might fit the sort of build or play style that works for you, and then others might not fit. So the game comes through understanding the builds that you want to use between realms. And very similarly then to a Souls-like game, you can do that new game plus experience, right? There's nothing stopping you eventually from playing through a realm again, right? And trying it with new weapons and say, hey, I did it with sword and shield last time. What if I did all spells this time, and then just see if it works? And you can still get that very similar experience. And it's just like a Souls-like game. Yeah, you've played it before, you know the story, you know the boss, but now you're playing with some new weapons, and so it still kind of feels new when you go through it again.
Cool. Yeah, I really like that. I was like checking the starter kit. I mean, like the weapons and that things. And I was thinking that I was wondering if you were going to do like a sorcerer or something like that in the future.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm
a sorcerer girl, so
yeah. I love magic nonsense, so there will definitely be more and more spells that will be in the game, so that if you want to go that arcane glass cannon build, it's going to be there for you. There's a spell in the Grim Coast that you can find if you find the right path and you get the right stuff. So there's definitely going to be support for different play styles that maybe go beyond the traditional knight with sword and shield and stuff like that.
Nice. Well, I'm not sure if anyone that is hearing has any question. I just remember that I want to tell people this. Remember that on the 16th, the game comes to Kickstarter. We are really eager to get this game funded. I wanted to get funded because I want to play it a lot. So I hope that everyone is in the same train thought as I am with it. And there's the link in the chat for like getting notified when the game comes out, and that's that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I was thinking if I had to say something else. Thanks everyone. Thanks Spencer, and hope.
Thank you so much for having me.
Soon. And I'm really happy to be back to streaming. And that's all. And be sure to follow on Twitter Spencer at Gila RPGs, and so you can be notified of this game and any other game that Spencer puts out, and see pictures of Clover, please.
Yeah, that's why you need to follow me.
Yeah, Clover. I hope that you should put a stretch goal in which you put like a ceramic thing with the Clover's paw for people or something like
that. For $1,000,
you can have Clover's paw. That's all. Thanks everyone for joining, and see you soon.
Thanks, everybody, so much for joining us. Just a couple of quick announcements. We have some amazing streams coming up after a short break for Gen Con recovering and other things like that. This coming Tuesday, I'm sitting down with Joel Hines to talk about the Black Sea Crag Kickstarter project for Old School Essentials. The next weekend, we're playing The Ship is a Tomb, a mothership adventure for Zine Quest 4. In a couple of weeks, we will also be announcing our other top 5 most anticipated projects for the second half of Zine Quest 4. You can check out all of our past streams over on YouTube, or just hit subscribe to get notified when we go live with any of those others games. And remember to go follow Rune so we get those Clover minis once the game expands far enough. Thanks. Have a great night.